Howdy ho! We are here for our midweek alchemy message. This is where we take a look at the week's lessons and assignments and unpack the work and think about how we're actually approaching the assignments of the week. So from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, we've got sugar. Well, these cards are so neat. Sugar. I got a new phone and I feel like the camera, after a while, finally gets used to me and it can focus easier. But this new camera, we haven't bonded yet. We've got the red and white rose, the floss sapientum. And we've got conjunctio or conjunction. Underneath sugar, we have the feminine king of cups. Remember, in the Mystical Moments Tarot, there is a queen, a king, both traditional, and then there is a feminine king. And so the queen is like the self-mastered aspect of all the feminine parts of the element. The king has those contained, but is more centered around that, all the mastery around the masculine elements of the suit. And then the female king is the union of the self-mastery of the whole of whatever suit that they happen to fall in. So just a note about that before we go any further. So the feminine king, because it's distinct from a king or a queen. Okay. Of cups. And then underneath red and white rose, we've got 9 of pentacles. Underneath conjunction, we have 8 of pentacles. And then we had one last card to wrap it all up, and it was Scintille, Sparks of Light. Just love the imagery on these cards. I love Kim Krans. I love her so much. Okay, so there is this element of this week, taking sugar into mind, about the Omer, right? So the Omer is a 7-week period that follows Passover. And so if we're exposed to all of this light and this goodness and this miracle juice and energy during Passover, it's like we take in all of these sparks of light from the Creator, sparks of light, and we ground them into our being. And so then by grounding them in, we go through the process of embodying this light, these lessons, this up level, this next level of consciousness, which means that we will be met with opportunities to face maybe old patterns or familiar situations, and our soul has a chance to up level and handle that differently, in order to ground in the up level, to earn the light, to not just have chaos and upheaval. So this helps us filter the light in, or else it would be too intense. So the Omer each week is associated with a different dimension of our soul and consciousness. And so this week is week 4, and it is associated with the 7th Sphirot of Netzach, which is associated with victory and Venus and perseverance and inebriation and excitement and inspiration and being creative. It's like the arts, the muses, music, symphony, being turned on. It's Dionysic inebriation as well as a spiritual Pentecostal inebriation. But the sweetness, right? You can think of that whole dimension of our soul that gets swept off our feet and creative and thinks of a poem or a painting or a dance or a meal. It's the sensual part of the self that physically perceives and expresses beauty in this world. And it's our interrelationships with others and how we accept others and forgive others, how we can appreciate each other's differences or allow for them. It is also associated with the golden rule: treat others as you would like to be treated, as you would treat yourself. So we're just keeping all of that in mind, that these are going to be the themes coming up this week. And so there's this aspect of the assignment is to sort of lean in to life's sweetness, whilst finding the balance of still being able to maintain focus and discipline and perseverance and endurance. Perseverance and endurance are also associated with Netzach. Also the Chariot card. Think about the Chariot card in the tarot. So we go through this week, and so over the last couple of weeks we've been doing reflecting, and we've been really coming to an appreciation and an understanding about how our life has played out and what it's all been about and what it's all offered us and what has that awakened in us. And what gifts has that given us? What skills has that sharpened in us? What wisdom has that afforded us? So we've been appreciating all these things. And then last week we were working with the heart center, the Christ center of consciousness. And it was like we were awakening the heart and resurrecting the heart, right? So we stir the heart awake. Now this week it's all about turning the heart on and getting the heart excited again and getting the heart pumping with love and radiating that love and that openness and that acceptance, because that's how everything's going to flow through, right? But we don't want to get too carried away and too out of balance and too thrown off. And that's why we have the feminine King of Cups here. The feminine King of Cups has mastered her emotions and her intuition. So just like the King of Cups, who's like still waters run deep, he's maybe a bit stoic on the surface, but he does feel very deeply inside. He's not controlled by his emotions. He's emotionally sober, but he's also comfortable with them as well. And even though maybe he doesn't appear super gushy on the outside, he is like committed and heartfelt and dependable. And so there's that masculine aspect of the king. There's the feminine, intuitive, nurturing, understanding, warm, healing, psychic version of the Queen of Cups, right? But think about the uber, like, intuitive queen who is like comforting and soothing to those around the person, the calming influence, the person that makes, everyone feel seen and understood, and who people maybe go to for emotional advice or emotional reassurance or comfort. That would be the Queen of Cups. The feminine King of Cups is this fusion of an alchemical marriage, the sacred marriage of the divine masculine aspects of the cup suit and the divine feminine aspects of the cup suit, fully mastered and brought into balance and into union. And so what that looks like is, and just take into account like the artwork here, you've got this monarch, like a solid rock in the midst of a kind of a raging, rough sea. And this rock is providing sort of like safe passage or a refuge for the ship to seek safety during this storm. And so the tentacles of the hair of the crown are flowing down almost like ready to be life rafts or like life preservers is what the booklet described the crown as. And so this character, they've got a hold of one of the ships, they've got the ship under protection, like they've got a hold of their emotions. They can handle they can keep their vessel strong and sturdy. They're not pulled back and forth by their emotional ups and downs and their fear and their excitement and this and that. Like life presents these things to us and we are comfortable with these feelings and we're excited and we can embrace the feelings, but they don't necessarily control our decisions in the end, right? We don't get super attached to those feelings permanently or draw conclusions or stories about them, we can enjoy the feeling and still make a different choice. We can use our reason, we can use our wisdom, we can use our experience, we can use the facts at hand. We can use all of these things without denying or avoiding our emotions, but we also don't have to let our emotions control us, right? Because that usually yields chaos. So this is like getting caught up in the excitement of life again, getting motivated, getting inspired. In the blog today, you should read the description box below, but Steven Pressfield wrote the book, The War of Art. And I think it was in that book that he talked about the fact that, or it might have been Going Pro, one of the books that Steven Pressfield wrote. He said that the amateur shows up when they're inspired. The amateur, shows up when they're inspired to work out, when they are inspired to paint, when they're inspired to write. But the professional shows up every day and gives an allotted amount of time, treats it like a vocation. They are just like robotic in that they show up, they are reliable, they're disciplined, they do their thing. It's not emotional. They just come to work, right? So think about like your dream or your calling, right? And think about it this way. Stop thinking about it as a dream and think about it as a vocation. Which a vocation can be a specific skill set that is used for your job, or it can be a divine calling. In the dictionary, it described both of them in these. I'm like, oh my God, because it's both. It's so funny. It can be both. So go after these things, have a good time, be devoted and consistent though. Like you can enjoy your vocation. Like you can, instead of thinking about your dream as this thing on a pedestal or your calling as this thing on a pedestal, where sometimes you get burnt out, or like you might be consistent sometimes and not others. Or for me, for instance, my thing is that I've been working on the straightforward Oracle deck. But there have been times during the process where I've been super consistent, but not always. And so that's what it's taking so long. But if you do a little bit every day, you could get something done 10 times faster. And believe me, I have beat myself up too much about that, but that's a good example, right? So we can have fun with our vocation. We can feel like it's a dream, right? We can, feel that kind of level of an excitement about it, but we can also give ourselves the boundary and practice the restriction and discipline and persistence and perseverance of just showing up and doing it no matter what. Whether we feel like it or not, we just build it into the schedule like it's our job, right? And for you, it could very well be. Or we want it to be. And so if we want it to become our job, we have to kind of treat it like our job, whether or not we're being paid for it yet or not. Just think about what you're giving to that thing and not necessarily what your dream is giving to you yet. Keep nurturing it. Same if it's like, with a relationship or with a job offer, an opportunity, right? Try to enjoy the sweetness of the excitement, but without getting swept out of your senses where you can't make a sovereign choice, right? Because what we're learning to do here is practice free will and sovereignty. And so the only way to have true emotional and cosmic sovereignty and conscious sovereignty is to be able to have control over your emotional realm without denying it, without suppressing it, with feeling it, but just not letting it control you. So this is getting, enjoying the sweetness of life. Enjoy the excitement. Let your heart get excited about things again. Let your heart get inspired and creative, and also stay emotionally sober and grounded and consistent. Keep the discipline up, but keep showing up and keep practicing that restriction and that kind of perseverance. And the combination and the balance of those two are what is going to release us into the next level, our next level. So here we have the red and white rose. This is acknowledging a chemical process happening in the lab within, right? Where the spiritual starts to have material expression. and things are starting to mix and take shape and become like this new creature. Now, as the red and the white mix with the rose, it doesn't turn into a pink. Individual aspects and the individual self is maintained even through this transformation. It's just becoming something more than it was, not changing completely, just being enhanced, becoming more than it was before. And so it's like through all of this effort and through all of this work, through the Omer. So the Omer is a time where we can really reveal the next level of miracles of our soul. But how we reveal those is through our willingness to do the emotional work, do the consciousness work, do the soul correction, right? Try to overcome your former self and your former consciousness and your former reactiveness, and try to, elevate yourself. So the more you try to transform what formerly had a hold of us, remember when we just did our exodus from Egypt during Passover, what we left in Egypt, it's like now we're facing the wilderness, and having left that Pharaoh, you think, oh, is the monkey on my back still? Is the Pharaoh, coming after me? Now that I'm in the wilderness, I'm totally exposed. What do I have? So it's like this follow-up, time of challenge is the way that we take all of this potential for miracles and start to embody it into our expression and bring that through. And so the more we can self-sacrifice, the more we can break through that negativity and that darkness, the more raw material, the commodity we have to transform that, like turning uranium into like nuclear power, right? So when we transform our darkness, that reveals more blessing juice, more energy, more potential for blessing. And so what's really great about that is that it's here with 9 of Pentacles. The 9 of Pentacles is the confident, successful business person. They have a relationship, a healthy and strong relationship with spirit, which is represented by the bird, which is the messenger. So they can tune into spiritual guidance from the Holy Spirit, from their angels, from their guides and the sages and their ancestors and whoever their helpers are trying to help them along. It's like they know how to tune in to that support. Also, the 9 of Pentacles depicts a person who has, yes, a strong spiritual connection with the Creator, but also they've become balanced on the inside, and they have been able to tackle life through, spiritual challenges, through emotional challenges, through mental challenges, right? They've been able to transcend those different aspects. And because of that, it's all come together and has allowed them to be able to build fruitfully in their life and establish stability. Remember, we had stability as one of our cards in the weekly energy oracle forecast. So this week, it's like showing if we're really doing the work, and we have been on the inside, and we are creating a strong prayer practice and a strong relationship with the Creator, and we're, studying our ancient sacred scriptures, and we are working on our relationships with others, how we relate to others. Remember, Venus is how we relate to other people, and not just ourselves, but how we relate to God, how we relate to other people, how we relate to life in general, right? So in that, we have to have a strong, stable relationship with ourselves. And so here, it's like we've established this strong relationship with God. We're working on our relationships with others and all the other aspects. We are making an effort in our well-being. We are putting in the time, making the effort to do things right and go through the proper steps and channels to make things happen. And so we're coming at it from every end we can. And because of that full effort that we're putting in, our garden has borne fruit. And so this woman has this basket on her head, it's like cornucopia, of all the fruits of her own labor. So this person is celebrating and enjoying the fruits of their labor, enjoying the abundance. And it is as a result of the healing and the change and the transformation that they have been willing to devote themselves to, which leads to What do we have? Dun, 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 dun. Conjunction. It's the sacred alchemical marriage of the divine masculine and feminine aspects of upper and lower converging, of inner and outer, being the inner being expressed through the outer. I'll read this card from the booklet. Love, divine union, and infinity. Conjunctio is the great alchemical operation of love. During this stage, we witness the miraculous work of two opposites merging to create a unique third form. Sun and moon unite to reveal the entire cosmos. Black and white unite to reveal the spectrum of color. Unlike coagulatio, conjunctio represents a conscious and benevolent union, one that springs forth from awareness, acceptance, and devotion. So it's like awareness, acceptance, and devotion. Those are still three themes of Netzach, right? That golden rule of how we relate to others, treating people how we want to be treated, acceptance, forgiveness. We have acceptance, devotion, awareness. So focus, intention, awareness, like it's all very, it keeps repeating. It's a repetition of theme here. So, okay, conjunctio represents a conscious and benevolent union, one that springs forth from awareness, acceptance, and devotion. It is not a compromise, but rather an activation, a holding of tension and presence that allows each of the entities to thrive and express themselves. Experiencing conjunctio is one of the blessings of the human experience. Whether the bond is with human, nature, or divinity, recognize it by the stirring of your heart and an element of surprise. Through the opposites arises the infinite. Through the opposites arises the infinite. So there you go. And so the sacred union is here, the converging of opposites. And what do we have? The Eight of Pentacles, which is long-term effort, long-term work, devoted effort, self-mastery, perfecting skills, being the studious student, the happy apprentice, putting their heart and soul and devotion and commitment into what they're doing and sticking through, persevering. That is the Eight of Pentacles. It's, finishing school or being a literal apprentice, learning a new skill, devoting yourself to a dream that takes continuous effort for a very long time. This is like long-term relationship card, like all of those things, right? It's like we've been devoting ourselves to the work, to our life's work. And now because of that, we're finally coming into a season where we're going to start seeing the fruit of the seeds that we've been planting and tending to for years and years, right? And then last but not least, we have the light here. I love that. The, Passover exposed us to all of these sparks of light. And through our breaking open of any shells of negativity, it's like we're revealing more and more and more of those sparks of light. And in a way, the spark of light is the inspiration that is still passive and in a state of potential, but like we're bringing that light through. And so I feel like the more that we act on that inspiration, the more of that light will be revealed, right? So the more that we stick to it and are dedicated and devoted, the more light will come through, the more momentum we will continue to pick up. So I feel a lot of vitality and life force and vigor and energy and kineticness and excitement in this reading, but also like in a positive way with harmony. It's not going to be without effort, but I think that we are feeling a little bit more moxie again and excitement. And this is just right on time because at this point we are awakening that part of our heart and soul. We want to get that excitement flowing. All right. And then follow through. Whew. Excuse me. All right, y'all. We will be back together tomorrow for our weekly romance oracle message. I'm working tomorrow night. Usually I'm off on Thursdays, so my videos are a little bit earlier on Thursdays, but tomorrow I will be working. So unless I get out of work early, I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Okay. Ciao.